Hello and welcome to Editing with My Wife, now with a brand new story. I'm the Hooded Philosopher here with Cheesy Loops. What's this new story I'm writing about? That's what I was going to say.
This new story that you wrote is a story about a group of humans that go to another planet where instead of hallucinations, highs, and intermittent itching, drugs give you magic and a better community.
Yeah. Well, that's one way of saying it. The whole thing feels a little messed up and a little inhuman, I think.
Yes.
But they are human. I'm not trying to portray any other entity.
And
right
honestly, from
even Drayland is technically human, and we know where he's from, and he's from a different world than the one we're talking about.
Yes. But from what little I understand, this world seems to be a little better than our own. And it's because of these substances.
I don't know about better. More fun.
Well, because magic.
A little safer. Yeah. But my intention with this book is to kind of use magic as a substitute for technology.
Yes.
That was my main focus. And the fuel of the magic is something... Well, originally it was just what they called brown leafed and their elemental wines.
Right, when humans originally came to this planet.
But it's you're saying it wrong. It's like not like a science fiction way. It's magic that brought the humans there, and then they colonized it, and then some other human came in later from the same technique.
Oh yeah, no. From what I understand of this world, humans came to this planet in a time where space travel was not even a thing.
Yeah.
So it's not like a future thing. It's more past to present.
Yeah.
And so these humans came to this planet without any aid of a mechanical device.
Yeah.
And if I'm correct, there's probably not much technology from when the time frame they came. The time frame they came from, we don't know very well. Yes. It's buried deep into the past, and a lot of things are still a question back there. Wooden ships. Yeah. No metal. Not a lot of it, at least. And any metal they did have is like blacksmithing. There's another situation going on here that the book doesn't really get into with great detail, but I'm willing to here, and that is the original planet. Oh, yes. There was a race on there, and what they had done was they used magic like these people are using in order to bury themselves deep inside the planet and move it to a system where the star isn't going to explode. So like super high science fiction, but fantasy based rather than science fiction based. Yes. So this is inevitably this planet is going to land somewhere and then start rotating again. But for right now, the sun just hangs in the sky, almost like the day's just about ready to set forever. Right. Until the aliens there's only move. A strip of habitable land on this planet. Yes. And that's because they wanted to keep the nature preserved as best they could. So they lost a lot of it, but it'll regrow. Mm-hmm. And there's a really super hot side of the planet and a really super cold side, and then like just a perfect strip in the middle, and then humans just by chance just slipped in somewhere in that mess that they were constructing with the magic. Mm-hmm. And then someone a little closer to present day figured it out. Yes. And he came in and things really started to change. Yes. So that's the world we're jumping into. There's not a lot, none of that's said. Not a lot of it is said in the beginning. It's more about the hero and their journey. Yes. Which is what all of my stories are going to be about. Just going through it and not nothing. We're not going to have any story of people sitting there doing nothing. It's going to be movement. Even if it is not necessarily physical, but emotional or intellectual movement. I would also like to add that the substances don't just give you a type of magic, but also personality types. It's a big thing. It's tied to kind of who the individual is themselves. But since there can be a lot of common traits, the traits are then each given their own power depending on what
substance you use. That's the word I like. Substance.
So for like an easy explanation, you have elemental wine.
Yes, that's the core one right there. You'll see that one a lot.
Yes, and so if you are of, and the one thing you don't have up there is if they are of a certain. So I don't know the personality types that you have.
Oh, that's true. Well, I can say the first one we could talk about is the top personality type is Sloane's. He's open. That's my goal.
So openness.
And I probably should think about that more. But he's open.
And openness is air.
Yes. So he can if he drinks the air wine or the liquor is what they use in the book most. It gives them the ability to manipulate the air around them, gusts of wind, slices of wind.
Uh-huh.
Very effective.
Okay, so earth is...
it's all pretty basic. The only one that really needs description is arcane.
Well, no, I was thinking personality type-wise.
Oh, okay. Neurotic. Yeah.
And then you have water, who I know who
agreeable.
Does earth. So, agreeable, that'd be Tresca.
Tresca, yeah.
Fire, I'm going to say is Nathaniel.
No. I think we just spoiled a big thing right there, didn't we? I'm going to have to edit that thing out.
Yes.
So let me forget.
Okay, so the fire breather is...
That was the name of the character we call the boy for the first 3/4 of the book. Like really up until like the last few chapters. Can't believe we did that.
I followed you.
That was funny. Anyway.
So fire breather is the boy.
That's why you're not going to see a whole lot of that. Not until the end.
And then arcane is...
And Nathaniel, the hero. And arcane is just... it's time. He can go fast. He can move really fast.
Yeah.
But that's just he can manipulate time more effectively.
So the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because also you set this up to where you can see that if someone who drinks elemental wine deals with the arcane... If they were to use Powder of Creation, you can follow that same line. It's in the same spot. And I can't read that. Beast Mastery. Right?
Yes, those are all tied.
Yes.
And I'll put more stuff in as we move along.
And it probably has to be the type needs to be a bit bigger because it looks real fuzzy.
You saw this multiple times. You watched me do it. And you helped me do it. I mean, genuinely, I want to thank you for helping me finish this. But you don't get to say that. You were sitting there the whole time.
I didn't even notice.
I think the way we were going to do it before was to just mirror another monitor over this one real quick.
That's probably
and that was bigger. And now it's smaller and things aren't quite right. But that's okay. The words we're gonna talk about all this the whole time. It's gonna be a great whole thing.
Yes.
and it's all kind of subject to change because if we're editing the book and something doesn't kind of sound right, we can just slip in something new. I'm not solid on any of this. Just FYI. Just remember that.
The amount of work he did to make this each individual one, and I had times where he's like, I can't figure this out. Pick a number between 1 and 9 and then 1 and 5. And that's how you figured out how someone did something.
Yeah.
So like, how do they get out of this? Yeah. Pick these numbers.
Give me the personality and where this comes from is deep in psychology. And in all honesty, I'm no psychologist. I'm just using these for character building.
Yeah.
And I don't know what these truly mean, but I do know how characters are portrayed with those attributes and what he's really trying to get across when he uses these things. I've listened to Jordan Peterson more than enough. I'm done.
But it's an intense, just the building of this magic is intense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's interwoven. It's a very bright and hard to kind of truly grasp unless you see all of it and truly understand it. But it's like a tapestry I've weaved out of these threads.
Yes.
Of at least the combat. Yeah. No, it's used all over the place. I mean, Shapeweed is huge, and Draylen makes a dagger out of it for the boy, and Tresca molds the boy's face. Sloane molds his own face.
Would it
multiple times.
Would we be giving away something if we say one of my creations in this book?
The ring?
Yeah.
Well, we went for, it's like chapter 3.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's the boy. It's the very first chapter of the boy. Speaking of which, my intention here is to write these characters' perspectives, each chapter their own. So you'll see Nathaniel's perspective, and then Draylen's perspective, and then the boy's perspective, and then Tresca's perspective.
Okay.
Tresca's at the end. Tresca's very important. Tresca's at the end. And I think that I'm getting really good at Draylen, who's like really going to be written kind of a fantasy style, and Tresca, who's kind of a more romantic style, I guess. I like those two more than the other ones, which is Nathaniel, where I'm trying to be plain and descriptive and I'm failing miserably, or the boy, where I'm trying to be innocent and confused. And the reason why, a big part of it is that if I ever write another book about the another world, the problems of another world, the Gaia, I'm having troubles understanding Gaia because he's got to be a childlike wonder, but kind of one with nature and connected to it. And it's not in a Zig way, not in a any other way. It's got to be just in a Zig way because he's actually living on Zig, but he doesn't feel good there because it's not Earth. Yeah. So I had to get into that. So the boy is practice for Gaia.
I see.
Because I really liked Gaia as a character. Little boy.
So, chapter 1, The Death of a Hero.
Oof. So much to say.
And this is a longer chapter.
Yeah, this is going to be a big, long video. I would try not to curse. Okay. All right. This thing will be handy if we ever have to talk about anything. But I don't think we will. It's all very poorly written.
But it's nice to see what you built. And
there we go. My habit was to go there. But no.
Thus the wonderful... we didn't even say the name of this book. The wonderful name of this book.
Well, they'll see it on the click thing.
Yes, thumbnail. But the pure uncut magic, which was our joke of it being substances, but also...
Pure uncut, you can see cocaine, heroin, all those big, heavy, nasty drugs, which don't use them. Not a good idea.
But then just pure magic.
But then it's just magic instead. And it's all that sense of wonder, but in the heavy substance department.
Yeah.
It becomes very real because, well, we get into it in the first chapter.
Yes.
And I don't know if we need to quite skip over all of that because we're going to get into it.
All right. Hydrate.
Okay.
Hooded's nervous.
Nervous.
Hydrate.
Hydrate.
We
got a pitcher of juice.
We have no ice, so what's the point of putting it in a cup when it's just drink it out of the pitcher?
Okay. I got a big old straw in it too. Although it's going to make me have to pee because this thing is long.
We can take turns somewhere along the line.
Maybe, because I want you to do Tresca and the boy.
Yes, but here's another point. I have not fully read this book.
Yes, that's another thing.
I have been
She knows the story because we talk about it.
Yeah. But I don't know the full sense or all the words. And
like she hasn't read it.
So,
and in fact, I'm not even done. I got a couple more chapters.
But
the next book, which we will get to at the end, I think we'll try and remember to talk about A View from Above.
Okay.
Because I love the idea and I want to know if people would comment about that.
I like all your titles.
And it's for Valentine's area. It's for February. And it's going to be a short story because February is a short month.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll talk about what's next.
I just love all your titles.
Well, you helped me. So I think you would.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Pure Uncut Magic came into my head, though. That was mine.
That was yours?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A View from Above was yours. I think Grey Fae was mine.
A Promise of Another World was ours.
I have no idea where that came from, honestly. It could have been. It probably was.
I think it was just a combination of the two. Okay.
Yeah. Excuse me. When people write a story, we typically want to start in the middle, where it gets really good. But this story started a long time ago, and it wasn't very interesting. And our hero wasn't alive for most of it. Suffice to say, don't expect a prequel. The hero Nathaniel the Noble was happy with his family. And in a world where a drink from the wrong glass may burn down the tavern by mistake, that is tough to do. Lucky for Nathaniel, taking in the vial of mind, he can open portals to his home. In this case, home is where the heart is. It's literal. It's a literal empty nothingness where his family thrived in secret. And as the village porter, he helped people get to their homes. He did this for a living in this world, and man, that's bad. He would sit in an office, wait for some people to come get a port to their own personal home. Sometimes he would follow someone to a local craftsman to help them port some boxes or a large piece of furniture, or occasionally a large family. On rare occasions, a child would come. Seeing a child is rare because of Sloane the Divine's prime edict, the Grand Intellectual Leap. States that for the betterment of the lost tribe of humans, all must deliver their children over the age of 2 to the Grand Education Center. Once there, the children are given more of an education than any human that has ever lived on the planet, and given freedoms the population couldn't even have imagined. All the relatives had access to them at all times for visits, and the families saw it work, and they learned a great deal for themselves in the visits, so it became normal. This is not Earth. This planet has a name, and if I ever get the chance to meet the original host, it will be a question to get to if we have the time. But for now, we observe the country of Flarian. And the rebellion host, I just sputtered that out. I'm sorry.
Did.
It's hard because it's THL, and it's just a random word. Is there something better we could put there?
Flaren.
Flaren. Like lie.
Flaren.
And the rebellion hosted by the neighbors to the north, afraid of the eminent power flowing from the 5 holy relics given to the 4 leaders chosen by Sloane and himself. It was strange for a small boy to approach Nathaniel out of nowhere. Even the rebellion sensed them with a trusted adult, yet there was a child in front of him all alone. "What's your name, little guy? How did you get here?" he questioned, approaching slowly. The little boy walked deeper into the doorway, seemingly lost and confused, but unafraid. He looked like he hadn't showered in days, and he was clutching a note. "This is Sloane's son. Please keep him safe." The handwriting seemed quite feminine, and was still wet with what he assumed were tears. "Where is your mother?" he asked, to no avail. The boy made some hand motions as if to say something, but Nathaniel understood nothing. Come with me, Neil and Kat would love another kid to play with." Nathaniel walked over to Slow down. Nathaniel walked over and touched a panel. "Do you trust me?" Nathaniel asked as he stretched out his hand. And the kid nodded. And with that, Nathaniel went home for the last time. The old world. Did I do that right? No. The transition from where you are to home looks like, to observers, a big flashy mess of light and reflection. But from the point of view of someone, or of the people going in, is smoky darkness. Often the darkness horrifies children, but the boy seemed to like it. Or maybe he had been through a lot. Nathaniel has always treated these portals like a devil's bargain. An encounter with a devil which has all the angels' trust, he would say to his kids. The old world covered his home, the inner space that the family lived. It was several buildings made out of quite raw material. As the kid walked out of the smoke, there was a covering above him and a grassy field as far as his eyes could see. The kid knelt down in shock, feeling the ground beneath him. Wow, that sounds bad. The kid fell down. The kid knelt down in shock, feeling the ground beneath him. "It took me 2 months to transfer the dirt alone. Thanks for noticing." A pause as the boy looked up from the grass. "You can hear me, right?" The kid nodded. "I guess I get to talk then," Nathaniel said, taking an extra deep breath. "Okay, so the large building in front of you is the woodhouse. In there is your family area. My wife will help you with anything you need. She's the one in red." He pointed at the scene of a young lady in a red dress leading a game of duck, duck, goose with 6 children. The children all wore various colors. The boys mixed blues and greens, and the girls wore pink, white, and yellow, each girl with their own color. The kid looked down at the clothes. Browns and blacks dominated, and they were very dirty and tattered. His clothes had an otherworldly air about them, Nathaniel noted. Pressing on, he pointed to a stone building with a distinctly flat cube style. That's the end of the sentence.
Yeah.
That is for adults. You wouldn't find that very interesting. Then, tugging on the kid's hand, the two began to walk towards the third major building. This is Tresca's garden, and where you will get some new clothes and a good meal. And most importantly, where we can come to learn how to grow, and what are the safest and most fun. Now, what ways are the safest and most fun? Tresca, my great-great-aunt, has been alive for over 200 years. They approached the building, which looked like it was made of plants themselves. Flowers covered it, and a warm, sweet smoke was spilling out the back. The door was vines that moved out of the way as they approached. Inside was a vast, empty space. Mostly plants made up the walls, and piles of stone made a simple, safe furnace for Tresca to cook in. Next to the furnace sat a woman whose kindly, stern face asks that her age not be revealed, while her fluid motions revealed a youth about her. She worked over an open fire, spoke loudly to some children, using some of her gentle discipline. Nathaniel... That's... Gotta get that way. Okay, it's not closing. Nathaniel knelt down. Tresca of Love has dedicated her life to helping kids just like you. So much so, some refused to address her without her title. The kid oozed confidence, walking over to Tresca like they had met. Tresca didn't expect it, but greeted him with a spoonful of stew she had just finished making. Our doggo is borking at us. And Stop. What are you doing?
She heard dogs outside.
Come here. Okay. Now, where are we? Try this, she said, presenting the kid with a spoonful of flavorful, hearty stew. The boy tasted it, giving him pause. Tears began spilling out. His cry was quiet. Tresca grabbed the boy, holding him close. Nathaniel walked out, the plants closing behind him, setting the scene for an intimacy required for the horrific trauma in store. Nathaniel approached his wife, a vision of red hovering over the children like protective fire. I thought I deleted that too. I'll just take care of that real quick. That is too far.
A protective war.
As the little yellow girl danced around the other, saying "Duck, duck." Her voice danced with childlike enthusiasm. Her actions sang brightly of her grace. Nathaniel loved her, and his actions proved it to her their whole life together. Proved to her that their whole life together must be dedicated to giving her a chance to help children grow and change. Wow, that's a mouthful. Bay is ready to leave. He wants to say goodbye. She greeted him with a sweet kiss on his 5 o'clock shadow. His mentor finally slipped him a positive, he asked. It's actually a full message stating how eager Axel the Mechanist is to finally work with him and how the engineer title is on his horizon. She squeaked out excitedly. I saw it too. He is ready to learn beyond what we can give him. I, for one, am excited to see what he can do, Nathaniel said, reaching into his pocket for a little baggie, handing it to her. That kid's going to change the world, she agreed, taking the bag and looking inside. Her eyes got big as she looked at him. Chocolate, she said excitedly, walked back to the children who were playing Duck, Duck, Goose. Nathaniel got us chocolate. Who wants a piece? She said aloud to any children who could hear. The children swarmed around her. Some came running in from the wood house. Slow down. The children swarmed her. Some came running out of the wood house. That is so bad. The odd one out was Baze, the unadopted child, and older than the rest by a decade or more. After each one received a piece, they ran over to Nathaniel and took his attention, asking various questions they had been holding in all day. This kept him busy as Tresca arrived, calling for the kids to come to the garden for the meal, giving Nathaniel a chance to breathe. So, when are we leaving? Nathaniel asked Baze, who opened his arms for a hug. Actually, he wants to advance me deeper into the program. He said after analyzing my data, I belong in the next class. I go in tomorrow. Great job, kid. I knew you could do it. I knew you could show him your potential. He's got to be very conscientious. And after only one day, after only one day, I guess they do really want you, Baze. Great work. Wow, that's terrible. This time Nathaniel grabbed him and pulled him close for another hug. I'll get you tomorrow, and we will go to Trust Home. Jara will be pleased to bring you to the Axel the Mechanist, Nathaniel explained. I'm going to go tell Mom. I'll see you at dinner, Bay wondered. I'll be a little late, but yeah, I think I'll see you. Nathaniel said, heading toward the garden. Tresca walked out of her garden, holding the boy's hand and giggling. Nathaniel's wife came out of the garden, and after Bay entered, "So this little one is called the boy?" Tresca asked as she approached. "All I got was a note," he said, reaching into his pocket in procuring the note the boy came with and hand.
Hydrate.
I think there's just too many ands. There's just too many ands. I'm gonna go on an and spree.
Listen, amateur writers put ands in everything. You're learning not to be an amateur writer by taking ands out of things.
And.
And. You're cute, and I love you.
So he said, "All I got was this note," reaching into his pocket and procuring the note the boy came with, and handed it to Tresca just as Nathaniel's wife walked up behind Tresca. "Who's this?" She started, reading the note over Tresca's shoulder.
That shouldn't be spaced out.
"Sloane's kid?" Nathaniel's wife said in a volume that startled Tresca, making her drop the note. Nathaniel's wife apologized. Nathaniel picked up a little scrap of paper. For the first time, he saw some small writing on the back. It said, "Please help him." His fire burned in his heart. "This is all I got," he said, referring to the note. And the boy isn't talking, handing the note for his wife to inspect. He pointed it to the back of the note. "No name?" Tresca added, lifting the boy and resting him on her hips. The boy shook his head, shocking them all. "Surely you have a name," Tresca said. The boy shook his head again. "Well, then, what do we call you?" Nathaniel asked. The boy moved his hands as if to give his name. After a short pause, Nathaniel said, "I don't know how to say that." The ladies giggled about it for a second before Tresca spoke up. "Perhaps we need to talk to the trusted. They always know something we don't. Besides, I got the feeling I need to visit." "They don't usually send feelings. They must not want to be intercepted," Nathaniel replied. "It was the rebellion. They had a mission for me," Tresca smiled. The rebellion is in trouble when they need the help of a 269-year-old glasshead," Nathaniel laughed. "Well, they need this old glasshead to make good on her 269-year promise. That feeling is that he is here." She looked at the boy with a smile, adjusting him on her hip. "What do we call the boy?" Tresca asked as said. I can't. This is a lot of words. Okay, and I've read them all before.
Tresca asked, looking at the boy who was nodding.
Okay, you can hang it. You're already sounding way better than I am. I have been for the past 5 minutes.
"You're okay with us calling you the boy?" Nathaniel said, more than asked. But the boy nodded enthusiastically in response. Farewells were had before Nathaniel left. They went through the portal back to the real world to ask some trusted friend some questions. It was a short trip in the real world, over some hills far away, the forgetting lake. Interesting. Tresca, Nathaniel, and the boy arrived at the trust home.
I want a piece of paper. Actually, I'll use this inner back right here.
Okay.
Just for this. 29, 30.
Yeah, 30.
30. All right, we're back. Anyway.
It was a short trip in the real world, over some hills, far away, the forgetting lake. Tresca, Nathaniel, and the boy arrived at the trust home. On the left was a tall tower, living trees wrapped around each other to form its massive height. Atop it sat a massive, wide-brimmed, black-pointed, golden-braided cable. Wow, I totally skipped the word hat. Atop it sat a massive, wide-brimmed, black-pointed hat. A golden-braided cable wrapped around the edge, giving it a natural elegance. Next to it, another tower, this one made of countless enormous stones. A wrinkly old brown, wide-brimmed pointed hat, giving it the air of an old wizard. The story goes that when Thram met Synth, they had a bet to see who could make the biggest tower fastest. A contest on the power of creation. It is said that Thram quickly conjured several small pebbles, and Synth conjured only one seed. They both planted it deep in the fertile ground. Then at the same moment, together, the pair tossed their hat onto what they conjured. The hats began to grow together. Thram looked at Synth. It was that exact instant. Hold on. Well, scroll up. Scroll up so we... It was that exact instant that he fell in love. That they fell in love and trusted each other wholly. Now we can all trust them, for their love helped their differences grow. Keep scrolling up. Nathaniel looked down at the boy, who was transfixed by the oddity of the towers. Awe plain on his face. Let's head in and meet them.
It has to kind of switch a little bit here at the beginning, because something's happening that needs to be said to get Draylen in. And then once all four of them are there, the next chapter, it starts with Draylen. Just to be clear before we continue.
Okay. So
I might cut that out.
That's fine.
Cut that.
You want to make that note then? 3208?
You say the number, why not?
Tresca was a woman who loves wearing gowns. With long auburn hair and the look of someone 50 years her junior, she was well known. She knocked on the door in front of her, saying, "I was told to meet a Draylen?" The door opened to reveal a quite tall, quite well-dressed man of middling years. His voice came out sweetly. "And I was told to meet a Tresca. In my 127 years and travels across this land, I have never heard the name Draylen, nor would I imagine him to be quite as tall and dashing." His response caught her off guard with its quickness. In my 60 years and travels across now 2 worlds, I have heard that name once, and ever since I've needed to see someone so highly spoken of, she would become known as Tresca of Love. She blushed, what she never does, but her response was just as intriguing. Well then, as the one who got you here, maybe I should be the one to show you around." She offered her arm, and he took it after grabbing a bag. They ascended the stairs to the entryway. They saw Nathaniel and the little blonde boy. "This is Draylen," Tresca said, introducing her new friend to Nathaniel, who greeted, answering with the introduction of his own. "This is the boy." Draylen looked at the boy, shocked. "Surely he has a name." "They told me that he has a name, but no way of communicating it because he's mute. In fact, every time someone tried to name him, he refused to respond."
I should say he told me, because the hand, he recognized that was him trying to do it.
"Yeah. Only when we refer to him as the boy does he respond," Nathaniel said, as he approached the boy holding out a small wooden top. Tresca made this for any child that may want it. I'll show you how it works."
It's going to get a little garbly here.
It's all right. He knelt down and spun the top on the hard wood floor beneath him. "It's enchanted, so only the owner can stop it. I'm giving it to you now. Look, I can't stop it." He reached down to stop the top, but all Nathaniel could do was get a small burn on his hand. The little boy's eyes grew as he reached down carefully to grab it, stopping it instantly. The boy giggled and went to task to get it spinning again. "Nathaniel, your nobility is known across the land." It's interesting.
It's stood in front of Synth.
Oh.
It kind of switches there, so I think it's a little choppy right here. Because I think he just comes in and says it.
We'll get rid of the word Nathaniel real quick. The second one.
Oh, I think that's also...
Yeah. Get rid of that Nathaniel there. And then let me read it and then see if it makes more sense.
Oh. I don't know why that Nathaniel was there.
I don't know either.
Sorry.
"Nathaniel, your nobility is known across the land." The most average-looking man stood in front of Synth the Trusted, wife of Thram the Trusted, consorts of Sloan the Divine. Ooh, interesting word. We'll have to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
The only ones that could be trusted, the title being quite apt at describing them. "I must ask, why have you come?" Nathaniel smiled broadly. "I found this child with a note." Can you scroll real quick?
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, that's it.
We're
almost there. So Draylen came in, and in the next chapter, we just jump right in.
Yeah.
It just keeps going from here.
He came with the note saying, "This is Sloane's son." A servant came to retrieve the note. The look on the face as they read the note. The look on their face.
Oh.
I feared this.
They face. No, it's they, brother. Their, Their. I'm sorry.
Okay. I feared this most of all. Nathaniel the Noble, be warned. Sloane has made a deal with the Seed of Chaos. Beware taking in someone so close to him. Synth warned. Nathaniel, return home. Something is not right about this. Don't let Sloane hurt your family, Thram exclaimed. But Thram's warning was too late. Nathaniel disappeared to a horrifying display of abject terror.
Okay.
So, interesting thing to know is that no matter where you are, you can always port home.
Mm-hmm.
So Nathaniel can open a port anywhere and go home.
And he only does it one more time after this.
Yes.
After the next chapter. Where you just kind of touch on what really the core things that happened there, and there's more detail to come after. It's a pretty horrible thing that came up. Just
because we're here, and now we're at this point of trying to suss out some of these wordings and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Consort can be...
Should we Google that?
That could be misconstrued to be... Yes.
Sexual.
To be of a sexual nature.
Maybe it is.
And so...
Maybe it is.
Oh, I mean...
A wife, husband, or companion, in particular the spouse of a reigning monarch. Habitually associate with someone, typically with the disapproval of others. I think that's a pretty right word for what we're looking at. Their bond is kind of like husband and companion. Like, Frodo is a consort of Gandalf the Grey.
Okay. The only term I've ever heard consort in is, yes, in a king's stance, where he is sleeping with said person.
Yeah, because he's consorting with his prostitutes, I assume. His harem, whatever it is. But his consorts. Consorts is just a very broad term. And it usually denotes a kind of... how do I say this? Like family through battle rather than blood. When you fight together, there's a family bond. That's kind of a consort. Because you're going to continually go back to them.
Okay, scroll down. There's a one there that says, what's the difference between a wife and a consort?
It's also Consolidated Standards of Reporting Trials, which sounds like the most boring thing I have ever heard of. Sorry. It's the consort group. Consolidated Standards of Reporting Trials. I'm sure it's very enthralling to some people.
But not us.
That sounds like tax work.
Okay, so it says, what's the difference between a wife and a consort? That first question.
Oh, you're curious?
I am very curious as to
consort is a title for the wife or husband of a monarch.
You see?
Sloane the Divine. He's a god to these people, to him.
Yes, but it seems like...
More like a divine emperor than a straight up
they're
deity.
In a very open relationship with Sloane.
I don't care. Maybe all of them are. not Tresca and Nathaniel, no. The other people, the other five. Because there's five of them. The other four, because there's five of them. And these two are added in after.
Uh-huh.
They grew up a community, and then Sloane respected that. And then they started talking to Sloane and got involved with Sloane. And it actually turns out to be a very good thing they did.
Yeah. I don't think you've made that clear in this chapter that the Trusted are one of the five.
They're not.
Oh, they're not. They're not
No.
one of the five.
No.
They're one of the six. I see.
Yes, and I had to change it to 5 because they don't count anymore.
Yeah.
And really, technically, it is already 6 because of River.
Anywho.
Which we'll get into that, like, chapter 15.
Don't know how I feel about consorts of Sloane the Divine.
Okay, what would you say? What sounds more reasonable? Let me know in the comments below.
Consorts, the other thing you can say is not advisors, but something to that effect, where they don't advise him, but they also...
A habitual associate of Sloane the Divine.
Oh, see, that sounds...
The only problem is, I actually want the disapproval in this context.
Typically a disapproval of others?
Yes, that's what you're getting at. These consorts can be a bad thing, yes.
I see.
Yes, like prostitutes are consorts.
Yes.
Or can be. if you let them.
You choose to consort with the enemy.
Yes. It's the right word. I can't think of a better one.
Okay.
Otherwise I would proffer it, but I don't have it. I got none words.
You got none words?
I got none words.
It's because you wrote them all down.
I got none words.
You wrote all the words down.
I got none words and plenty grammar.
Is that how they say it? Is that how the kids these days say it? Okay, so
do we want to go back through it right now over the video? Or do we want to just talk about the book a little bit here? And we can reference it if we need to, or go through it again if we need to while we're talking about it.
I think you should check in on our time real quick.
I don't think it matters.
And see where we're at. Well,
No. Don't.
Thank you.
I would thank you to not do it in the future.
Only because this chapter is so long and there's a lot we could say about it. But there's things that we want to talk about this book.
I like to listen to 5-hour podcasts. I love it.
You're a strange bean.
There are many strange beans if every bean can be something other than a bean. Infinity times infinity equals infinity. We don't get to understand the higher levels.
Okay, scroll up. Scroll all the way up.
It's great nonsense.
There was something else I said that was interesting. Oh, okay. It's when they're going to the trusted.
Oh, okay.
There
is a time when I think I said 160 years. I don't know if that made sense to you, why she would say that and not 269 or whatever.
No.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay.
Okay.
The one thing we know is that we don't know Tresca's age.
Maybe that's what I should do, is just
change it every time.
Yeah, the numbers don't matter, man.
Yeah.
She's old. Get it.
Yeah.
Okay. This is what we call the boy, so there's the story.
Up.
Short trip to the real world over some hills far from the forgetting lake. Is that it?
Yeah, that's the sentence. Over the hills, far away, the forgetting lake.
From the.
Okay.
Oh. And I capitalized the F because
F should be
I almost
capitalized.
did it again. I hit the shift key and then stopped the shift key and hit F.
Oh.
What's the story?
The other question I have is, how old is the boy? Rough estimate.
The same age as Tresca.
Because I did not see him at an age at which he'd be held on the hip of a person. I saw him as the age that you would be holding his hand to guide him.
You're right.
Okay.
I'll go remove the hip thing. You're right. Well, let's talk about the boy.
Yes.
What did you see from him? What is he showing you?
He seems to be smart.
Okay.
He's moving his hands around so he has his own little language.
He does.
With his
Which
hands.
we can spoil that. I don't think it's too big a deal. He uses a it's not sign language.
It's not sign
language.
language.
I'm going to distinctly say it's not. It's a hand language that he developed with his friends or his family on their own.
Yeah. He seems very smart. The other weird thing I get from this is that he seems a little aware.
I think so. That's I think my point. I think he is a outgoing person. And I think to be outgoing, you have to have more awareness. To be able to see more and be aware of more people's facial features and all that stuff. Like, I have very little awareness in that social sense. I'm not paying attention. I don't really focus on any of it.
No, you do not.
Because it's just, I mean, that's a neurotic person. Because they're thinking about something else or, worrying themselves too much. I'm a neurotic person. I'm a sad neurotic person.
And it is also a curiosity.
I'm proud of it.
Other people have tried to give him a name, and he's like, no, it's not my name. His name is whatever it is in hand language, but the boy is a fine thing to call him.
Yeah, he actually prefers that.
And maybe it's
why do you think that is?
That's a good question. Is it just because he is a boy?
Maybe secrecy? Just because he doesn't know these people?
And he has a name.
Yeah.
And he is a boy. Yeah. So the boy is more of a name than anything anybody can make up for him.
Yeah. I think he liked it. I think that's all it was. I think in the end, that's kind of what it was. He heard the people say it and he just kind of nodded excitedly. Like, I want that. That's cool. I like that. Just call me the boy.
Yeah.
And he was just down for that because to try and give them the name would have been very difficult.
Right.
Until he's of age, which he is. They just don't know because the signal is your voice drops.
And what you mean by of age is in which they deem it safe for children.
It's not only deeming it safe, it is not safe. If you use it beforehand, you will not have magic in the future.
Yes.
It's all gone to you. Any of them.
Which is a point if you scroll up a bit when you're talking about how it was weird to see a boy, child.
Yes.
So that way we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah,
that there is Sloane's Divine Edict. Or Prime Edict. It's up more. The Grand Intellectual.
That's a terrible word for people who are supposed to be smart. That is a terrible word to come up with for people who are supposed to be smart.
I think it's also how you typed it.
Oh, is it intellectual? Is it just one L? I mean, why wouldn't it have the bar over it? No, it would have the bar over it. That's how it's spelled. That's how you spell it. It's how everyone spells it.
It looks so wrong. It looks like an insect's name. Anyhow. That all the children are supposed to go to this
school, a grand re-education center.
Yes.
And in all honesty, the children are not in any harm. Throughout the entirety of the book, there's no harm to these children. Just so you know. That's not the purpose of this book. Just throwing it out there.
Well, and it's not a threat. The school was not meant to be anything.
You read further, it's like I'm trying to make it appear as though everyone's okay with it. And it makes sense this way. To just kind of send them to the school and then come back as an educated adult. And in this case, they come back far, far more educated than they could possibly have imagined.
Well, mostly because Sloane comes from an age in which these people did not originate.
Yes.
And there wasn't the same, isolated group of people who did not...
They were advancing, just not very quickly.
And not in the same way as that
smaller.
Earth was.
And they had all these other things going on.
Yeah.
And there's also the brown leaf and the elemental wines were here already.
Yes.
So they had that stuff already.
So, and then Sloane comes in from a world and time of technology and education is more amassed and...
Yeah. And then he builds this thing in the center that everyone can go to.
Uh-huh.
There's a rebellion, though, so people don't like it. But the rebellion also is being aided by the other country, which kind of seems like active war territory. Which it almost gets to, but things happen. Gotta read the story.
You explain more about why there is a rebellion, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't have to get into that. That will be explained later.
Yeah, and there's going to be more of it in one of the chapters.
What else? The hip thing was big.
Oh, where was that?
A bit down.
I mean, he could.
Okay, so the age I'm seeing him at...
Excuse me.
No matter how strong you are, that would be extremely uncomfortable. I'm thinking between 9 and 13.
9 is touching the barrier. But 9 is possible. Maybe he's just a small kid.
And if he is between that age group, then it'd be a little embarrassing to be held on the hip.
Not if you came from another world and this lady gave you a really yummy stew and you were tired because you've been walking all day and you were left alone and it's Tresca. She can handle it.
I understand. I said no matter how strong you are. I just don't see it as a...
Mm-hmm.
In my personal opinion, I see that as a problem.
Okay. Where's the hip?
The hip is down.
It's down a little bit, right?
Yeah, just a little bit. Lifting the boy up and resting him on her hips. Like, you're thinking she's picking up like a 5.
What are you talking about? Where is it?
No name, Tresca added, lifting the right where your cursor,
where my cursor is. Okay.
Wow. He's so blinded to his own words.
Because I'm such a great author. Can't you see?
Uh-huh.
I think I am. I am amused by my own stories.
I love the line of, what do we call you? And then he does...
Autoerotic.
Oh, gosh. Get over yourself. Okay.
Yeah, that's the idea. I'm a narcissist.
What do we call...
Unintentional.
I'm trying to talk about the book. I love this line where he's like, I don't know how to say that. Like,
I don't know how to say that. Yeah, I think it's funny too.
It's this, the idea is like the dad that absolutely loves their child's artwork and puts it up on the refrigerator. It's like, you don't want to shame the child that they just did something absolutely insane.
You want to encourage it because if they keep doing it, it will get better. Which is my hope with this and my hope with everyone that helps me. I hope I can give them something to write or draw or create in any way they want to, explore their own creation.
It is
throw it in with this.
Perfect example of like how people should respond to children. I don't know how to say that. Like, you just did something. It made no sense to me. It looks utterly insane, but you just said something. I love it. I absolutely love it. You just did a thing.
What about Nathaniel? What do you get from him in this? This is him in his most casual.
I think
it's all full writing.
The best line to help describe who Nathaniel is he saw some small writing on the back. It said, "Please help him. Fire burned in his heart."
That was the point.
That right there. He wants to help children, people.
He wants to help children. It means a lot to him because of some things that are going on that don't get discussed because, well, they don't happen in the book. Now they think about it. He just is known for being a noble person, and everyone kind of cares about him. And
well, that's the thing we haven't talked about yet. Tresca of Love, Nathaniel the Noble.
Yes.
Titles
are earned.
Thram and
Synth the Trusted.
Synth the Trusted. Yeah. The titles are earned. There's a reason why you have those titles.
Yeah.
And it's not just willy-nilly.
And there's a reason why it happens in this world. They got it from their origin. So in our world, there is there are certain people who hold titles.
Yes.
And there's one that's very famous, and that's the one I'm pulling it from.
Yes. Are you not?
I don't know. Do you want to say it? Do you know it?
Alexander the Great.
Yes, Alexander the Great. There's a lot of mystery in the past. And I just pulled from there for inspiration.
And the library that did and also did not exist.
No, he never saw it.
But they never found it either. It was said to be burned down, but they never found any evidence of it being burned down.
Oh.
It disappeared, from what my understanding was.
Well, he probably has a better one than me.
From my understanding, it was a library that just up and disappeared, but people talked about how they went there all the time. Mm-hmm. So,
and there's a lot of titles. It is a second name thing, basically, but you earn your second name instead of just having one because you're related to somebody.
So, Tresca of Love,
and that is a title she earned in 269 years. That's how long it takes to get the title of love, I think.
Which, by the way,
nice.
I really absolutely love the fact that you need to change her age every time you say it. Mm-hmm. So, there's that.
She is not ageless. Don't talk about it.
Give me my acrylic.
And you probably won't, honestly. You'll hear others talk about it, especially the other ones that have lived that long. There are a few others. What are you looking for?
My acrylic. Yes. Thank you.
Wonderful interruption.
At 56.
I don't want to do the editing.
I needed it to finish my project.
Okay. No, she's smushing up clay. Anyway.
Keeps my hands busy.
Where were we?
We were talking about titles.
Yes.
And discussing Nathaniel.
Yes.
Our first impressions of it.
Well, your first impressions. It's hard for me to have first impressions of something I wrote a long time ago.
This is true. But just from his title alone and that line where his heart just burned at the idea of a child needing help.
And he's supposed to be kind of conscientious. Like, that's what matters to him, is that people have their say and that he wants them to have their say. It's more than just he wants them to have their say. He wants to hear it.
Yes.
He cares about what they have to say. It's very aware of the other people around you, and it's just a very conscientious person.
Yes. I don't think there was anything specifically. Bay's the unadopted child. So is that Nathaniel and his wife's natural born child? And assuming that's their only natural born child? Okay.
So then we have Tresca. Who's Tresca?
Tresca's of love.
What is her character in the story so far shown you?
So far, she's the very much grandmotherly aunt type.
And it is aunt. I think I wrote mother early on, so if there's a mother in here I forgot about, it might show up. But I think I switched them all.
I think you switched them. Maybe.
Well, you haven't seen it all.
So far, you've switched them.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, it was aunt.
Good. All right. And Tresca's wife is not important. Or not Tresca. Nathaniel's wife is not important. Just about as important as Tresca's husband.
Nathaniel's wife doesn't even have a name.
Nope. You don't learn the name until the end.
Oh, Jeezy Pete's.
Yeah. Jeezy Pete's.
That was mine.
Okay. It's probably being picked up by the microphone.
At least that's being picked up and not the bing.
What the is.
Yes. But is better. Well, at the time I was looking this way. Alright, so what else about this world can we talk about? We've talked a little bit about magic. We've talked a little bit
We could discuss locations. There are some notable places. What do you remember?
The Lake of Forgetting?
The Forgetting Lake, which you don't hear about until the end.
Yes, the Forgetting Lake.
Again, this kind of is a big circle. And importantly so.
Right. Then you have the school, which I know about. You have the Burning Sands, but I don't know what you called it.
The Endless Burning Sands.
The Endless Burning Sands.
And that is where the sun is facing. So there is a protection on the land. And that protection takes form in the form of moons.
Yes.
Is that how you would say that?
I would say
the form of the moons traveling around the planet. There you go.
Right.
Takes form of the moons.
Celestial satellites.
Of celestial satellites. It's a more apt description because they are smaller than the moon.
Yes.
There's like 5 of them. Although I don't know if it comes up a lot. You occasionally hear about how the sun never sets because Draylen comes from a world where the sun sets, and so does the boy.
Yes. And
so both of them have a reason to note it or to think about it, so you'll hear it there. And then... what else?
What else do I remember of the land? Well, you said river, and I do know about a river that is heavy, rapid.
Yes, it's very fast. Very dangerous. And it's very deep in a crevice. So there's a cliff down to a river, and the river ends at a cliff that goes back up. So it's kind of
like the Grand Canyon with like whitewater rapids.
And tighter, yeah. And faster, yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't really have to deal with that a lot because there's a gondola hanging down, so people in the city can go from one side to the other of this river, and it's powered by the river. So it's fast. And Anything else?
This is interesting. Besides, I got a feeling I need to visit. They don't usually send feeling. They must not want to intercept it.
Yeah.
Is this part of the magic?
Yes, that's kind of a hint of the magic. And so is when his kid is talking about Axel Mechanus getting a message, and then it was a full-on call. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And there's no phones here.
There's no phones.
Like, I know that
in this case, you can send a feeling.
Yes.
Which is kind of cool. It's like if you could just send an emoji and make the other person feel something from that emoji, but instead they feel it. That's
kind of like what I was getting from this it's like an emoticon, but it's an actual feeling inside yourself from that place. Yeah. So the curiosity is him and his wife are talking about the boy getting a positive.
Yes. Meaning he got a positive mark saying, we're going to accept you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Is that a bad way of saying it?
No.
It sounds like giving birth or babies. I got a positive test. Would mean I'm pregnant. I'm positive. Yes. Or you have something dangerously deadly to you. That's the only terms you hear, though.
But
not this one, too.
My assumption was that he passed a test, or they gave him, they said they liked him.
Yeah.
Like
data.
A positive response. It just, the way they say it in this world, the language that they have, it's a positive.
Mm-hmm. Language is a little more simple here. Yeah.
Because they don't have tests like we do. So a positive wouldn't be a thing that's negative in this place.
And why would you even need to communicate about the test if you could just have the person do it in front of you and see how they're doing? Wait, go do the job for a little while. That's basically what he's going to go do. He's just an apprenticeship.
Yes.
Yeah. Not anything like serious.
Right.
But a title of the mechanist would be kind of cool, or the engineer would be kind of cool.
Yes.
So he was going for that. And that's kind of like getting a PhD, I guess. In a lot of senses.
Can we talk about Glasshead a little bit?
Yeah.
Because we have the image.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that's the most fun part. Her house is made of plants.
Right.
And that's because she is when she's using crafter's glass, which it's called Life Shaper, and a Life Shaper allows you to make runes out of vines and other living material and moss and stuff.
So a Glasshead is someone who uses
crafter's glass. Yeah,
I see. And so, and
she's ancient, so he just threw some numbers out there that are funny.
Yeah,
nice 269.
Nice. I don't hate it because it feels like it could fit, but Duck Duck Goose. It cracked me up when I first read it, and I felt like it was out of place. But at the same time, I'm thinking, Sloan is from our world. Uh-huh. He could have taught simple games to these kids.
And in fact, you do meet people from the school who have graduated.
So Duck Duck Goose.
She's the leader of the rebellion.
Feels out of place, but at the same time, it doesn't.
In place. But it's also, since it's in the home, which now we're picturing, instead of a bright blue sky, it's just white.
It's just white.
It's just white.
With dirt.
With a big field of dirt and houses and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just white above them. So it's like eerie in that sense too.
I could just see Tresca's house having these like base of potted plants, because how would you have plants grow in this white area?
The dirt. The white would provide the light. It provides all light.
Okay.
It's just an empty space to work in.
Okay.
For people to have, because of the abilities that the
It'd be curious how you
vial of mind gets you.
I'd be curious how you'd build rooms in these homes of just pockets.
In this one they built houses, and I imagine others would too. They'd bring in large furniture pieces, so you could probably even maybe port a house if you can get it into the portal.
Or you have builders come through the portal.
Or you have builders with material coming through the portal. Yeah.
And
you just go to them. You don't have to. There's no transit involved for that.
Yeah, you go to their
place. Even though they could transit it.
They could. They could transit it. Sometimes it's just easier to bring a person than it is to bring a team to a location.
Yeah. And you just look at that. You bring the location to the team rather than bringing the team to the location.
Yes.
Everything's a little more simplified with the magic. It's technology 2.0. Magic is technology 2.0.
Uh-huh.
It so goes against my ethos of magic being something you can never understand, and technology being something that people understand, and how they understand it is what technology really comes from. It's come from the Greek.
Yeah.
It's like how they understand it.
I'm really excited to get to my ring.
Huh?
My ring.
Which one?
The part of the story I created. The ring. For moving.
Oh, slip ring.
Slip ring.
Slip ring. Yeah.
Yes.
The slip ring, which they use for a good portion of the story, and then things change.
So,
but it's just hauled off somewhere. They're going to use it in a little bit.
Do we need to say the next chapter? Well, most of this book is sad.
The beginning is sad, and it slowly gets more and more adventurous, and then it gets sad, and then it gets more and more adventurous, and then it gets sad, which I think is how most fantasy stories go.
Yes, but we're going into a realm of sad in this next chapter. That is
yes.
So anybody listening, be aware that. I mean, I
don't think there's anything in here that is.
It's not gore.
Triggering.
It's not gore, but there is.
No, it's too magical and chaotic for it to even seem real. Sometimes I think that's what Nathaniel would say himself. That it was so horrific. He feels like it was a terrible nightmare he had, and not reality. Yeah. Always. And especially now that he has other things going on, which we'll learn about. I don't want to spoil anything.
Yes, I don't want to spoil anything, but I did want to say that at least so people were aware that going into the next episode, we get really...
This is my...
deep sad.
My distinct brand of sorrowful neuroticism. I am very neurotic about sadness myself. It means a lot to me, and I focus on it heavily. I'm nervous. Get over it.
All right. Do we want to do a recap?
Not quite yet. I want to do what's next.
Okay.
I want to just slip it in here and force it every time we do it.
Okay.
A view from above.
Oh, a view from above.
That's what we're going to do next month. So why not do what we're doing now with Nathaniel at the end, and then when we do it next time, people will have a better grip on it. They'll have heard us talk about it if they're interested in stay till the end.
Mm-hmm.
They'll give them a reason to stay till the end.
Yeah. View from above is a story.
It's a little more comical, a little less sad, but kind of sad.
A story of a narrating hat.
Yep, it is. The narrator is a character.
The narrator is a character.
Yes, and all he can do is narrate.
If you're wearing the hat.
And only no, I think he can make others hear, but if you're wearing the hat, you can hear. If you're touching it, you can hear it.
Okay, so more of
I think he can fold and become a talking mouth.
Okay, so more of a... It naturally only is heard by the wearer, but he can make himself heard by everybody.
Uh-huh.
So...
Yes, if you're touching the hat, he is always heard. He is narrating everything.
Yes.
But if you don't have your hand on the hat, you don't hear the narration. But I think there are times in which he can force the talking to happen if it needs to. But I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Okay.
We'll see in the story. I mean, I need to write it to know if it needs to happen.
Yes.
But maybe it's capable. I don't want to leave things in the air.
This is the next one we've been discussing that we want to do.
Mm-hmm. A view from above. Yeah.
A view from above. Which,
and that's
if you don't get the title, it's the hat narrating.
Yeah, the hat's a narrator, and he's kind of seeing everything
from above.
And his narration will help the what do you call it? Protagonist.
Yes.
Yeah. So she'll hear his narration, and things will change because of the narration, which is an interesting thought, and I'm excited to see what I can do with that. Protagonista, yes, his wife, in fact.
Yes, the hat's wife.
Yeah, the hat's wife. Well, he wasn't a hat always.
I just liked leaving it at the hat's wife.
So we'll get into more on that in the next one,
and
we'll stick here for the recap. So now people can close out of it. But I need to do it because it's good, and some people might want to hear it. So I'm going to let it.
It also helps remind us what we did the last
Then
chapter.
We need to talk about how we're going to do this recap. We have 4 characters who are all doing things.
Yes.
And all 4 of them are core to the story. We follow all 4. There are plenty of other characters, but these 4 are the ones we follow. And conveniently, we can just put their perspectives here. What's going on with each one in this moment?
This one's a little different. I feel like there's a little more to it because, I mean, the explanation of Nathaniel happens. The boy comes with a note of helping, of needing help.
He went to a man who wants to help children.
Yes. You have Tresca, who gets a feeling from the trusted. And then you have the introduction of Draylen.
That's exactly the point here. Yeah.
So... you didn't do the 2.
It usually naturally does it.
It's because you didn't hit enter after.
I did.
And it's not Nathan, it's Nathaniel.
Oh, you're right.
Hood had also wanted for his next book names that weren't so hard.
Yes. What we're going to do them? What were we going to do them?
May.
May. And
Frick.
Frick is the hat.
Frick
at
is
the start. We'll see what happens in the middle.
Yeah, we've been playing with some ideas. Okay, so Nathaniel, the boy. And the boy being as simple as it is.
These 2 capitals. The name with 2 capitals. A single name.
A single name with 2 capitals and a space. I cannot tell you how many times we were driving down the road. And him complaining about the names he gave his own characters that he loves. And the easiest one has a space as a character in his name.
And another capital. I always forget the capitals.
And Draylen has been found. I guess we could say something else a little bit about Draylen.
We should. I was thinking that same thing, but we were on the out, so I didn't know if you cared.
Do we want to explain what Draylen was on his world?
That comes up in the book.
Okay.
So right away in the next chapter, actually.
So we'll do that. In the next chapter?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. And we can get into it in that chapter for sure.
Okay.
But what we know of Draylen now is he's handsome. Tall guy.
Yes.
Yeah. Pretty much. He has a little bit of a wit like Tresca.
And it seems to be that Tresca did something that took her many, many years for him to arrive.
Yes. Yeah, that comes up.
Yes, that was read. I read that. A promise. And since I was the one who brought you here, I might as well show you around.
Yeah.
She
yeah, but not. I don't know if I ever actually get into how. I must have to jam it in somewhere. Like how he got there, what she did. I guess I do a little bit with Rokai, so we can get them.
Okay.
That's the end of that.
That's the end?
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Chapter 1.
I'm really excited because I have no idea what's going to happen.
Let us know how we're doing.
I have a feeling, but...
Well, you know the horror. We came up with that together because the idea of me doing it alone felt nasty. Like
not
me sitting here and pondering on the horror of destroying a family.
Not only that, it wasn't something you wanted to really do alone.
Yeah.
You wanted...
I love people. I don't want to think of them dead, but in a story, they can because they're not alive in the story.
But I think you also were like having to deal with the sad of it all already.
Yeah. But I'm a sad person.
Yes.
So it's like I'm already there. I don't need to be deeper in it. But I like sadness, so don't get me wrong. I just don't want to go that deep. And it gets really grim really fast. And then it changes to the boy's perspective, and you get a little more levity to it really quickly, I think. And then you switch to Tresca's perspective.
It's
and it gets
almost as if Draylen and the boy are the... There's a lot of comic relief without it being comedic.
Overtly funny, which is how fantasy works, I think. Like, think of Lord of the Rings. None of that. There's no jokes in Lord of the Rings.
Potatoes.
That's natural funny, right? That's what I was going for.
Yes.
Natural funny.
Yes. Which I saw in the back of a card today. Potatoes.
Boil them, mash them, stick them on a stew.
And I love potatoes.
And Samwise Gamgee. I love Samwise Gamgee. The true hero of Lord of the Rings, Samwise Gamgee.
Okay, thank you, because that's not
Samwise?
what you
Samwise Gamgee. I love him. He's the hero of Lord of the Rings. Of all the characters in Lord of the Rings, he is the hero. Screw Frodo. He wanted it in the end. Sam stopped him. Sam should have pushed Frodo in for his treachery.
But he loved him.
Exactly. We love evil people. I'm just kidding. I mean, truly, Gandalf the Grey is my hero of all.
Not Gandalf the White.
No.
gray is your
No, he got bleached. What are you, 90s? Get out of yourself.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening.
We love you. Like, comment, and subscribe, please.
Have a good day.
That's all I can ask. Spread the word. Let other people know that we're jambling little stories here. They'll be happening 1 a month for as long as I can go. And I've got 6 backed up here. So.
And.
Not written, but ready to be written. So I got work to do.
And 2 crazy minds that can think of the weirdest things.
Yeah. Some of the best minds. And we're thinking alike.